All right, we're going to practice the partial quotient strategy. I know it seems to be a little tricky, and sometimes it's just easier to do division the other way that you originally learned, but knowing another strategy will help you check your work, and eventually I hope to help you think of division maybe in more of a multiplication way. All right, so let's say we have the problem 123 divided by 5. So if we're going to use partial quotient, we're going to take our 5 and we're actually going to use multiplication to figure out how we are going to get to the amounts in the place values. So we're going to start with the hundreds place, which is 100. So we think 5 times what number is close to 100 without going over? Well, in this case, 5 times 20 actually equals 100. So we do not go over at all. It is exact. So we then go to the next place value and we check our 5 again. Well, place value is 10 and we have a 2 there, so it's 20. So we think 5 times what number is close to 20 without going over? And in this case also, it is 4. It is exact. So we have our 20 with nothing left over. Then we go to our ones place. We take our 5 and we say 5 times what equals something close to 3 without going over? Well, in this case, it's nothing. There is no number because 5 is larger than 3. So that answer is 0. So what we have is we have 3 that are left over. That would be our remainder. And then we would add these numbers in this column, which are 24. So our answer would be to this problem is 24 remainder 3. All right, let's try another one because the 5 was actually pretty easy, but that's good. We like to start with easy and then get a little more difficult. So in this one, we're still going to do partial product, but this time we're going to do 247 divided by 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 7 and it's actually going to become part of some multiplication problems. And we're going to go by place value again starting in the hundreds. So we can think to ourselves, 7 times what is close to 200 without going over? Now, in lots of cases, it's hard to think in that big of numbers, so go small if you want to. So we can say, well, I know that 7 times 10 is 70. Well, that leaves me 130 left over from my 200. So I can do it again. I can say, well, 7 times 10 is 70. Well, I subtract that 70 from here, and I get 60. Now I can think, how many times will 7 go into 60 without going over? Well, 7 times 9 is 63. That's too big. So 7 times 8 equals 56. And I have 4 left over now. Now I can go to my next place value, which is the tens place, and there's a 4. So it's 40. So 7 times what number is close to 40 without going over? So if you know your multiplication facts, you can run through those. 7 times 6 is 42. That's too big. So we're going to try 7 times 5. 7 times 5 is 35, but we were trying to get to 40. So we actually have 5 left over. So we're going to put our remaining numbers over here on the right-hand side. Now let's go to the ones place. And we say to ourselves, 7 times what number will go into 7 without going over? And in this case, it is 1. So 7 times 1 is 7, which takes up all of that number. We have 4 plus 5 left, which is 9. So then we would do it one more time, and I'm going to try to squeeze it in down here on the side. 7 times what number will go into 9 without going over? And it is 1 again. 7 times 1 equals 7. So we have 2 left over. That is our remainder. And then I take all these numbers in this column. I add them up, including this one that we had to write off to the side. And we get 10, 20, 28, 33, 34, 35. So our answer to this problem is 35 remainder 2. All right, let's try one more with partial product. Hopefully it's starting to make a little bit of sense. I'm going to write a little bit smaller this time in case we need to fit in all those numbers. I couldn't fit in very well on the last screen. All right, so this time let's do 356 divided by 8. Okay, so we're going to use our 8 and multiplication to figure this out place value by place value. So we're going to start with the hundreds place, which is 300. So I think to myself, 8 times what number comes close to 300 without going over? Now remember, you don't have to get the exact number. You can take this in sections. So if 8 times a huge number is too hard for you, you can try 8 times 10. You could try 8 times 15. You could try 8 times 20. Any numbers that are actually friendly numbers for you. In this case, we're going to try 8 times 10. 8 times 10 equals 80. But I wanted to get to 300. That leaves me a lot left over, 220. So I'm going to do 8 times 10 again. And this also gives me 80. So I can take another 80 from the 220, which gives me 140. All right, so I still have a lot. I need to take up this 140. So I'm going to do 8 times 10 again. And this is 80. So we're getting down a little bit further. So this would leave me 60. And now I could say, how many times does 8 go into 60 without going over? This is a little bit easier if you know your multiplication facts. 8 times 8 is 64. That's too much. So we're going to try 8 times 7. It equals 56, and now we have 4 left over. All right, so now we're done with the hundreds place. Let's move on to the tens place. We have a 5 in the tens place, so that's 50. So 8 times what number equals close to 50 without going over? Well, it's one above. We can say 8 times 7 is 56. That's too large. So 8 times 6 equals 48. That means we have 2 left over there. All right, so now we're into the ones place. So 8 times what number equals less than 6 but close to without going over? Well, it's 0 because 8 is bigger than 6. So we have 6 left over. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the numbers, which equal 12, and we think 8 times what equals close to 12 without going over, and it is 1. So 8 times 1 is 8. We have 4 left over. So the remainder is now 4. You add all the numbers in the column, and you get 10, 20, 30, 37, 43, 44, with a remainder of 4, and that is your answer.